Well, tonight to kick us off, we're going to be going into a series of questions, but I'd like to start with this first question. How has Lassen College helped shape you? And we're going to begin tonight with Eddie.
How you doing?
Good.
Well, Lassen impacted me early on because coming from Houston, I hadn't been exposed to a lot. Went to a community that embraced me. Had a lot of differences. I met a lot of different people, not just from the United States, but international. It taught me how to get along with different folks, as well as it was at a very impressionable time in my life. The ages of 18 to 20 that we spent in Susanville, it's a close-knit dorm life with all the basketball, all the athletes that were there, as well as the other students. You got a sense of family because it was such a small community. Learned how to pull together because resources were minimal being on campus, and just had a great time. But it took a lot of things from their little small community that with me when I came back to Texas that really just impacted me in a way that gave me a strong base for my college education, as well as just dealing with folks and, making new friends. So it was very impactful in my life.
Thank you. Jocelyn, how has Lassen impacted you?
Well, I can just say around the time I had went to Lassen, first off, I was really in a bad time at the time. I didn't know for sure if I was going to actually go back to school or not. Having that opportunity when Lassen just showed up all of a sudden, I was excited. But knowing the fact is just being a Black female, going somewhere that I've never been, and in such a small place, I was concerned. Only because it's like, there's things you have to think of, people, environment, everything in general. And stepping in there was the best decision I've made to start my career, just everything, just life in general. That school changed my life like no other. I met great people. The people are number one, are amazing. Montiel was actually one of them. She was like my greatest. She was like actually like a mentor for me. She introduced me to so many resources that I didn't even know a school could actually have. And just knowing that the fact, like athletes are going to start somewhere, and it doesn't matter where, but just knowing the fact that you have people there that care and are there to just help you and stuff, it really helps a lot. And just as far as that, I was able to succeed in school. I got my associates. I met Nicole, Coach Jackson, and they coached me throughout my years. And I had a great, successful year. And I definitely met a family there at Lassen College.
Awesome. Thank you. Anthony, tell us how Lassen College has helped shape you.
I don't know where to start. When I first got there, Coach Abney told me there's something about this little town that brings you back every time. And I said, not me. Once I leave, I'm never coming back. But he was right. He was absolutely right. The friendships, lifelong friendships and bonds that I've made with the teammates and the other athletes, Rico, Eddie, Nicole. I mean, to this day, we're still in touch with each other. And I'm grateful for that. Those are some of the best times of my life, growing up as a young 19-year-old kid coming from Louisiana. Never been to California before, thinking I was coming for Hollywood, and I ended up in Susanville. So it had enough of an impact on my life to where I came back and worked, started my career there, and lived there 20 more years and coached, and I'll never forget that place. Susanville always has especially Lassen College, always has a special place in my heart. So,
thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
Derek, Coach Jackson, how has Lassen impacted you? Because you impact so many people's lives on a regular basis. So tell us how that's impacted you.
Well, man, when I got there, it was nighttime. And, I had only lived had only called Dallas and Los Angeles my home. So it was really literally night and day. I woke up that next morning, I was ready to leave the place. But with the help of, Coach Yonan and Dr. Hall, Coach Will, they really embraced me and made me feel like family, like I was wanted. Me being the only Afro-American on that coaching staff, everybody welcomed me. But, you know, growing up in Dallas, Texas, I experienced a lot of racism and prejudice. I can remember when on my 4th birthday, April 4th, 1968, that was the day Martin Luther King was assassinated. And I was actually having a birthday party that day. And I remember it getting interrupted. Everybody left because, you know, the town just went black. So, but coming to Lassen, you know, I hadn't been around that type of culture in a long time. But this is my 6th college I've been to. And I can honestly say this is the best one I've been to. And I can't wait to get back out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Rico,
Yes.
tell us how Lassen has impacted and helped shape you.
For me, it was, I met people, not just people from different places in the country, there were people from all over the world, from Australia to, we had a teammate from Alaska, we had teammates from Louisiana. So I met a lot of people and it just was different. Like I came from Houston, so I arrived in the summer, in the middle of the summer, because we did basketball camps, and it was like June 18th. So the next day was June 19th. Here in Houston, in Texas, we celebrate Juneteenth. And I was like, well, what are we doing for Juneteenth? They were like, what is Juneteenth? I was like, okay, this gonna be different. I don't know what y'all mean. What is Juneteenth? That's the day that the slaves found out in Texas that we were free, and a lot of my teammates didn't know that. So you know, it was just a difference, a learning experience growing up. I had some rough times. I was ready to quit one day, and Eddie was mad at me because I took all my stuff to Coach Alford. And Coach was like, nah, I ain't letting you quit, because if you quit, that's going to be a constant reoccurrence. So I toughed it out that first year, and the next year, you know, I was out there conditioning and running in the front of the pack. So, you know, it just taught me that you can get through anything. You just got to work. That's it.
Thank you, Rico. And Attila, please talk to us. How is Lassen impacting you?
I'm not in Lassen right now, so I don't really have a big story about a come up. But hopefully when I get there, I'll have a great awakening, I guess.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet you when you get here. That'll be
I
great.
can't wait to meet you guys either. I'm really excited.
Yeah, lots of great things. Well, I have some more questions for us, so we're going to continue on, and we're going to just go back in order. And so here we go. How do you think that 2020 has affected us, changed us, and prepared us for the future? And both, you know, how is it working? How is it affecting you? How is it affecting how you see things, and really, how is it resonating with you? And just kind of talk about what's been going on for you in that, and some highlights. So we're going to go to Eddie first.
2020 has been different. Being that I'm from Houston, hometown of George Floyd, it's been quite different. The protests, the pandemic, I work in juvenile justice, so those type of things affected me a little differently being in the line of work that I'm in. You're having the Black Lives Matter rallies in conflict with the policing policies of the United States, and I'm working within that industry. So it has an internal conflict with me. I've had to, in some instances, curtail certain things about my temperament because I'm the line of work I'm in. Also, trying to educate some folks about some of the realities of what you've experienced growing up, not only as a Black male in this country, but as a Black male working in law enforcement. So those things have been quite different in 2020 than in previous years. Just trying to navigate those waters, not only with coworkers, but within my own inner turmoils of Black men in this country.
Thank you. Jocelyn, how about you? How has 2020 affected you, and changed you or prepared you for the future? How's that been working?
Well, just like what Eddie said, 2020 was different. It hit everybody different. We can start off by saying 2020 hit off with a hard loss, losing Kobe. That was a legendary person, who impacted everybody, the world. Then we go off to riots, the presidency, all that stuff that happened, police shootings, and then the pandemic. I can definitely say that I know that for a fact, everybody in this world was definitely impacted. How it impacted me, it felt like for me, like at one moment, it felt like everything was going down for a minute, just too many questions to ask, but didn't have any answers, and after seasons started getting cut off, people were getting sick left and right. Texas got hit hard with the pandemic. People were getting sick, and it just the population just grew. So just knowing all that, and the crazy part was I was actually in Alaska when all this had happened. I was away from home. So knowing the fact that, my family is out there, and they are going through it, and not just my family, but everybody else, that impacts me a lot. Why? Because I am a big fan of people. I give anybody my last before I even help myself, and just the thought of, that our world is just going through some stuff, and just it hurts sometimes, because it's not just you that is just going through things, but it is everybody. And just I can say that 2020 was definitely an eye opener. It helped me to open my eyes, pray more, be blessed about the little things, be excited about what's really happening in front of you, and not worry so much about the past. I mean, about the future, because you never know what's going to happen. So I can definitely say I hope just in general, it helped me spread a lot of love to everybody. And I hope it did the same for everybody else.
Thank you. Anthony, what about you? 2020, how's it been affecting you? How do you think it's going to affect, changed us or prepared us for the future?
I spent a lot of 2020 praying for just people, man. Uh, being grateful for what I have, being grateful for the fact that I have a job and continue to be an essential worker. Um, saw a lot of things that we hadn't really seen before in our generation in 2020. We had Eddie, you guys remember the Rodney King beatings, the Rodney King beating. I mean, that sparked riots, but we've never seen like 2020, like we've seen the murder of George Floyd on national TV. I mean, to see someone murdered in that fashion, it let us know that things were definitely different. And once again, like Eddie being in law enforcement, I'm at a crossroads, being a black man first and in law enforcement second. So trying to find my place, where do I fit in all of this? So I spent a lot of time educating non-black coworkers on certain things that they were blind to and didn't understand. So it's been a teaching time, a trying time, and a praying time for me. Um, Blessed to have my first granddaughter, so it's not all bad. I just pray that it gets better, man. It's got to change for the best. I hope that more people will become aware of the issues and injustices around us and continue to educate themselves and change. Yeah. So I just wish the world could see how we were all a family at Lassen back in the day when we played. Everyone got along. So we can have that, man. It's amazing what could happen.
Yep. Thank you. Coach Jackson, what about you?
Yeah, just to piggyback about what all them said, 2020 has been tough. I've lost relatives and friends due to the pandemic. And what I'm really trying to instill in my 3 grown Afro-American kids is how to handle these, law enforcement, when you pull it over, et cetera. Show them your license, show them your hand, do whatever they say, keep calm, don't make a wrong move, because you won't be here. So I just been trying to preach that to them. And like I said, it's gotten better, but we still got ways to go. In my 56 years on this earth, I've seen change, but we still got a way to go to to make this place anywhere near perfect. But like I said, 2020 was really tough.
Yes.
And 21 can only get better, only be better. And hopefully it will with these vaccinations and with Biden, you know, giving out this money to help everybody. Changes, it looks like it's coming.
Thank you. Rico, how's it been affecting you? How do you see it helping change or hurt the future? Or how do you see that working?
For me, it was just learning to appreciate the little things. Going to a basketball game. My oldest son coaches football. So going to a football game and watching his team play, we couldn't do that this year. Me and Eddie live in the same town. We usually see each other 20, 30 times a year at least. And we've only seen each other once or twice the whole year because, you know, trying to stay healthy. And then, you know, with the like George Floyd, Eddie was saying George Floyd lived here. George Floyd graduated maybe 2-3 years after me and Eddie. So the school he went to was one of the biggest rivalries in the city. So he probably was in the stands watching us play when we were young men. That just shows how close things happen in your life, and you never know, you know, what's going to happen. So, you know, me being the father of 2 young sons, he's 28, my youngest is 12, but he's almost 6 foot tall. So if an officer had bad intentions and sees him walking down the street, he's thinking that's a teenager, but he's only 12. So, you know, you have to be constantly worried about what's going to happen. You know, every officer isn't bad. I have lots of friends that are officers, but you know, it's just you can't have a airplane pilot and have one that's bad and say, okay, it's okay, because if that one wasn't bad, he'd take down 400 people. So, you know, it's just, you have to be worried about your kids when, you know, you normally just want to, you know, go to a game, go to a football game, go see the Astros play. But, you know, with this 2020, between the pandemic and worrying about, you know, Black Lives Matter and just any lives matter, it's just rough. You know, with the thing at the Capitol, Blue Lives Matter, they got beat up pretty bad. So it's just been a rough year.
It has. Definitely. Thank you.
Yes.
Attila, talk to us about 2020, how it's affected you, changed you, prepared you for the future.
I think 2020, I don't want to say like open my eyes, but like it made me kind of hyper aware of the people who are around me, because I come from a predominantly white area with a lot of like country people, and it kind of just under the circumstances just kind of showed people's true colors, and that like I'm in close proximity to like actual white supremacists and stuff like that. So it was kind of just scary for the time, especially since I have 2 brothers like that are obviously Black men, going out like traveling distances for work and for like days at a time, and I really don't know what they're doing, and they've had encounters with the police that are always not positive, and just having to be worried about them and making sure that they're safe. And like Jocelyn said, like I prayed a lot, and like just praying that every day that they would make it home safe, and that I wouldn't have to go through that grief of losing a sibling, losing like even my mother, to hate and malice. So it kind of just, yeah, it just made me very aware of my surroundings.
Great. Thank you. You know, it's interesting as we think about 2020 and we think about where Lassen College sits, and you know, our community it's been pretty sheltered at times, and you know, news didn't travel as fast here. But with technology, cell phones, cameras, those things, social media, instant news feeds, all of those things have really played a part in bringing awareness to situations And oftentimes I wonder for each one of you as you, and the question really is do you envision that these have helped us become better as a society, or do you think that they have not? I just kind of, that's kind of one of the questions that's been kind of asked a lot is, how does that work? And because Lassen County, it's pretty secluded from a lot of things. That I was talking to Nicole about our questions and the Black Lives Matter, and what she was at. We were kind of discussing what had happened here in Susanville, and it was kind of interesting to see our community, where we're pretty tight knit and pretty close, and a couple of people walked down the street, and a couple of people put some things up in their window, and some groups walked and did some quiet, calm protesting. But then you began to look at social media, you began to look at those. How do you guys think that social media and the instant news has affected us in this season? And so we're back to you, Eddie. If you don't mind, just go ahead and give us your opinion, your thoughts, and how that might feel.
I think social media has been the biggest component, as well as has been the biggest aid in shining a light on America's ugliness. And when I say that, I'm saying that in conjunction to law enforcement, as well as to some behavior of racism and things of that nature. Because being a Black male, you've always known that the racism existed. We've always encountered it, especially being here in the deep south of Houston, Texas, or growing up in those things. To borrow from Will Smith, the only difference between racism then and now is that it's being recorded. It's being recorded on a cell phone. So now, folks who were sheltered, who didn't have an opportunity to understand that, how can the police do this? Police been doing this for 80 years. The police been beating the hell out of folks. Police been harassing Blacks in Black communities forever. Growing up in Houston, I can't tell you how many times me and Rico were stopped and had our issues just from, encounters with the policing of different things, or catching behavior, racist behavior on camera. Technology has played a big part of that. I've been blessed not to encounter those things in Susanville. I've only had, the whole time I was there, one racist incident in Susanville, going into a Denny's where me and a teammate going with a white family to go to Denny's there, and out of the blue, some locals just start calling us the N-word and caught us all off guard. But, being from the South, that's met with adversary, that's met with confrontation. So we immediately ran back to the dorms to round up a crew. By the time we got a crew and got back to Denny's, no one was there. Thank God, because we were just 18, 19-year-olds, and it would have made the biggest incident in Susanville that it didn't need. I thank God every day that we didn't find those guys and that nothing happened. But technology is the biggest component of shining a light on what's been happening in the Black community for the past 80 years.
Great. Thank you, Eddie. Jocelyn, what do you think?
Now, this is a tough question. So social media, has its goods and has its bads. We can all agree that, social media is not always a good thing, to be on, because it just produces bad habits, just stuff like that. But what we can agree on is that, just like Eddie said, when stuff happens, it's on social media. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, it's just, even if it's something just a little funny or even petty, it's on social media. Anything you can find is on social media. I can say even just technology itself has helped a lot with just communication itself. It's evolved for over years. It's helped everybody, stay together, stay in contact, being able to communicate with family, friends, it helped a lot, as far as, just from the 90s, just all the way to now, as far as, like what Eddie said, all the riots, crimes and stuff like that. Now, in my opinion, that's where I feel like it's a bad thing, only because I've only noticed a lot of negative things are more posted on social media than positive. And I've noticed that, it'll be just more of crimes, fights, riots, just things that, you know, people really shouldn't be seeing on a daily, but the fact that it just happens so much, what else is there really to put on social media? So I can say, you know, it definitely, social media helps really to help people be aware, you know, what's really going on in other places, you know, in Houston, Florida, you know, anywhere, any place you can think of, you know, it's on there. So I think social media, you know, it's great to have, you know, I love talking to my friends and family, but other than that, I can say, you know, I personally do try to stay away from social media because it's just so upsetting to see all this stuff happening in the world, you know, but the fact that it's posted on there is what's something that people do need to see. This is what's really happening. This is what the real world is, you know, and just exposing all that, you know, it's like I said, it's a great thing, but it can also be a bad. So it just really just all depends, really.
Great. Thank you, Jocelyn. Yeah, I do want to make sure that you know that as we get to the end tonight, we will be doing some Q&A. So if you do have some questions that you'd like the panel to answer, just drop that in the chat and we'll make our way to that process and get those questions as well. Let's continue on to Anthony. How do you think that social media is playing into this?
Social media is a mixed bag for me. The good thing about it, you have a message or a story break, it can be out across the world in minutes. Thanks to social media. That's great. The ability to do that and touch the whole world. You also have the negative side of that. Just like with all media, you have to be able to decipher what you're getting, because we all know there's one story, there's another story, and there's the truth somewhere in the middle. So the media period is good at fanning flames for negative stuff and spreading truth for positive. So just be aware of what you're ingesting and be able to decipher the message. One of the greatest inventions of our time, though. But be aware, be careful with it. That's all I can say about it.
Thank you, Coach Jackson.
I'm half. Hold up. It says I'm muted here.
You're on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 50-50 on the social media thing. I mean, it's good and it's bad. I think it's good because without the social media, we wouldn't have seen George Floyd with the knee in his neck for 9 minutes. We wouldn't have seen that Arbery kid shot down in Georgia with a shotgun. So it has its good and bad. You can call me old school if you want. I don't do social media, Facebook, Instagram. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm old school. I'll watch it on the news. But yeah, I think it's good and it's bad. And one of my worst stories, or one of my worst things I've saw in Susanville in my 3 years there is as you come down the hill from the college on the left-hand side where the hotel is, they had a bunch of Trump supporters over there. They were selling, you know, the flags and the red hats, and I happened to just drive by, and I got called an N-word. And like my man said in Houston, you know, you say that word, that's kind of where I'm from. You know, what we call it in the hood, you get a beat down for saying that word. But I overlooked it, and I just kept on going and went on up to the college. But other than that, you know, like I said, I'm 50-50 on the social media. I could take it or leave it, really.
Thank you. Rico. I think you're muted, my friend.
Okay. Social media is a double-edged sword. So it has its positives. We can stay in touch with old friends. Like I can see Nicole out skiing in the middle of nowhere. Or you can use it for business, as Anthony does. And there's lots of good stuff to it. You know, I keep in touch with old teammates that I haven't seen them in years, but if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't still be in contact. But then you also have the bad stuff which is, it seems like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, whatever you like, touch a like or whatever, that's going to keep popping up in your timeline. So if you like racist stuff, that's going to pop up in your timeline. And if you like positive stuff, that's going to pop up in your timeline. So, it kind of feeds into the negative. If you kind of like negative stuff, it's going to keep popping up. And then if as you keep seeing this, it just reinforces what you believe. So if you're negative, it's going to reinforce your negative side. And if you're positive, it reinforces positive. So, you just have to, like Anthony was saying, you have to, judge what you're looking at and, do more.
Thank you. Attila, how do you see it?
Yeah, I kind of agree with everybody. It's kind of a double-edged sword. More so because it's kind of just tiring seeing how negative everything or a lot of stuff is in the world, and especially with like race relations, and if it affects you personally, it can just get so like you can basically like cause a lot of paranoia, because that's how it happened for me, especially with my brothers and like my siblings and stuff like that. But I also like to be educated on stuff. So seeing this stuff happen and going out and making sure that people aren't like spewing ignorance basically, or just having that knowledge and not being ignorant to it, and not ignoring what's actually happening, because it's happening. And me as a Black woman, it can happen to me at any time, like in the blink of an eye. So it's kind of important for me to see this stuff and almost be prepared for it than to just have it happen out of the blue and have me not be prepared for it.
Yes. Good. So as we talk about this, how do we keep moving forward? How do we envision and how do we bring awareness, but also then how do we bring encouragement that we don't have to continue to do business the way we're doing it today? What's your words of wisdom? So we're going to go back to you, Eddie. You're first. What's your word of wisdom of how do we take all that's been happening, the Black Lives Matter, the dismantling of systematic racism? How do we move forward and see the light, I guess, at the end of the tunnel, and unity begin to be formed?
It's going to take some due diligence. It's going to take some due diligence. It's going to take some uncomfortable conversations, and not necessarily. You're going to have to hear some pain, because I think it's cancer. The cancer of this country has always been racism, and we've never dealt with it. That's why it keeps coming back up. We might put it out, it might go into remission, but it shows its head again. And until this country decides to get serious about the systemic racism, with different avenues of financial equality when it comes to criminal justice, it's going to have to do a real reckoning with the Black community. And until they're able to, or folks are just able to sit and listen and say, okay, what needs to be done? Hear the problem, work together on resolving the problem, and put forth the effort and stay with it. It's not going to get done in one generation. It's going to take years and years of work, because it's been 400 years of systemic racism in this country. It was built on racism. So you're not going to undo it in one generation, but you got to put forth the effort. It's going to take prayer. It's going to take some due diligence. It's going to take some hard work, some blood, sweat, and tears in order to undo this thing.
Thank you, Eddie. Anthony, what do you think?
Listen, I think people fear what they don't know. So it's up to us to continue to educate ourselves and to educate them, and try to quell some of those fears, man. I play with guys that never, had black friends, never been around black people before. Um, and it's just out of straight fear and not knowing. So the more you're exposed to it, the more you're educated on it, the easier it gets. And then you start to see, hey man, my ideals, the way I was raised is wrong. Um, yeah, man. I mean, we have to pray that it changes, and it's that we're making a lot of strides right now. There's a big push for equality, and you know, I look at some of these big corporations hiring more and more African Americans, and you look at it and you say, okay, well, that's good for the media, but it's a start, man. It is a start. No matter how much of a figurehead move it might be, it's a start in the right direction. And if more of those moves are made, like Eddie said, we're not going to fix it today. We're not going to fix it with our generation. But I can hope and pray that my grandkids have what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
What our grandparents were fighting for. We've already made strides from there. But the one thing that's the same is the racism has never disappeared.
Right.
So that's the key, man. We gotta get rid of that and love each other. That's about it.
Good. Jocelyn, what do you think?
Man. With this one, I just say, I woke up every morning. I think it started at Lassen, actually. I woke up every morning and got on Snapchat and said a prayer every single day. I would just pray and pray to people. And just the crazy part, I would let people know that you don't have to be a Christian. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to be any religion in order to pray. You don't have to be anything. You can just feel it. It's just a feeling. It's just, just how you feel, speak it. Speak how you feel. When I started expressing that to other people, and just I noticed that, a lot of people would add me. Lassen, I think I was around one of the stores at Lassen, and a couple teenagers came up to me like, yo, like, you're Jocelyn. I watch your prayers every day. Like, thank you. I love hearing your prayers. You help me every morning. And just hearing that, it just helps me like, okay, I'm doing something right. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing much, but just hearing that from somebody else, it helps me to understand, like, like, even the little things do count. They help. What I say in this world, we need togetherness. We need peace. We need acceptance. We need to accept the fact that everybody is different. We all have to be different because we all do different things. We all live different. There is nothing wrong with that. We have to accept the fact that doesn't matter what color you are, we all bleed the same color. We are all humans and we all came from the same place. The fact that we are all here for a reason should show that, this world can't work right if we aren't all together at all. You can have one part of the world, China doing great out there. But I bet if America is just going horrible, how much money do you think we'll lose? To just putting all of that into perspective, it just shows that, it's not just the people hurting, but it's just everything in general. Anything you can think of. Poverty went up, homelessness is going crazy. The fact of just thinking of those kind of things, it upsets me. Why? Because like I said earlier, I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to be happy. And just like how everybody has been saying, we need definitely a lot of prayer. And the fact that like everybody was saying, if we're starting now and it's not going to happen next week. It really is not. It's definitely going to take some time, a lot of time. But if we teach it now and, just show people, the right things, I definitely think, later on in the future, this world will be beautiful, beautiful. And I know that for a fact. Why? Because there's too many people, beautiful people here in this world. There's too many, and I feel like if we all come together, all the great people, and spread that love to everybody else, it should be contagious enough, and I really just probably believe, it's just really a mental thing, If you're around negative people, you're going to be a negative person. If you
Yep.
bring yourself around great people, positive people, oh, you're going to be the most happiest little person in this world. So I just firmly believe, it's just really all about, who you want to be around. Who do you want to be? What do you want this world to be? And I definitely want to make a change in this world, a big one.
Thank you. Rico,
Mhm.
what do you think?
Just being positive, starting with yourself. So, growing when back playing basketball, coaches instill stuff into you. So then now you have the community that comes to see you play and look up to you. Little kids look up to you. So you have to put out positive stuff so that, we had, like I said, we had teammates and friends from all over the world. So they've taken that back to other parts of the world and said, oh, hey, Rico, he's a nice guy. He did this. But if they went back with a negative thing, then with a negative assessment of you, then those people who never met you, they're going to think negative. So you just have to be positive for yourself. And then, like I said, I have a son he's now a football coach. So I tell him, the things that we taught you that, positive, you have to pass that positivity on to these young men that's looking up to you. And, my young son, he's, a sweetheart sometimes, and he's a little brat sometimes. But, you have to just instill the positive into them, and then it just spreads out. But it has to start with you, because you have to start the positive, and as it spreads to other people, it moves across the world.
Great. Thank you, Rico. So Coach Jackson, how do we do this with our students and our teams? How does this work? How does this come together?
Well, I try to recruit all the diversity. I mean, if you can play, you can play. So I just think I try to make everything a team atmosphere and get a lot of bonding, whether you're white, black, Asian, native, whatever. And I just think if we all just come together as one, kind of like what Eddie said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time and a lot of work. And I want to point something out, not to change the subject, but just like you take the NBA, for instance, there's 4 head black coaches in the NBA for a league that's 75 to 80% Afro-American. Why all these assistant coaches don't get a chance to get a head coaching job when they're definitely ready for the job, but I think they get overlooked. And I just think that's a part of racism. I don't know what you call it, but prejudice or whatever. But those guys deserve a chance to be head coaches. And same with the NFL. There's 3 black NFL coaches in the NFL for a league that's 80% Afro-American. So I just think change gonna come, but I hope it comes soon. And I really hope those guys get opportunities to become head coaches.
Great. Thank you. Attila, what are your thoughts?
Personally, I believe that it comes from like the denormalization of like racism and microaggressions and stuff like that. Because even though people may not notice it, it's still like making a big impact on how we treat like Black people today. Um, Even like the little stuff. Like I've been told before that I'm not so that someone doesn't see me as Black because I'm not aggressive enough, or I'm not aggressive enough to be Black and stuff like that. And that stuff is like obviously it's not okay. So that like the denormalization of that I think would make a big difference. And also I think it mostly comes from education. Um, like Anthony said, people fear what they don't know. So educating people on topics, on like certain topics of like poverty and um, like stuff like that would also make a big difference in um, how we move forward into the future.
Thank you, Attila. So as we round out our time together, you guys have been phenomenal. I have another question for you, and hopefully this will be an easy question for you, but I think it'll be helpful to those that are watching tonight and those that will watch in the future. What advice would you give to the BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, people of color students at Lassen College? What would you say to them? What's the advice that you would give them, Eddie? If you could give them some advice as we round out our time together, what would you tell them?
Do not prejudge. The golden rule, you know, Pastor Hall, the golden rule, treat folks as you want to be treated.
Mhm.
The same respect you showed in your community, in your home, show that same respect when you go out. You're an example of not only your own upbringing, you know, take those values with you. Be kind. You'd be amazed what a hello or a thank you or a yes, sir, or no, sir, get you. Just, you know, little things that we were taught here at home. And when you go to a community, you new to it, treat folks the way you want to be treated. That'd be the golden rule. I guess that's the golden rule for life. And it served me well while I was in Susanville. It served me well back here in Texas. It's serving my kids well. Treat folks the way you want to be treated.
Thank you. Anthony.
I would say to impose your will on your environment, man. Everyone that you come in contact with. If you got love in your heart, you're getting along with people, impose your will on them. I spent a lot of time, my 2 years in Susanville playing baseball. I was one of one. The only Black kid on the team that stayed. We had a couple that came, but obviously they couldn't deal with the fact that the program was a little tough. So I didn't have anybody else that looked like me on the team. But I imposed my will on my teammates, man, and let them know that you're from Montana. You've probably never been around too many Black people, but you're my brother, man. And I made some lifelong brotherhoods, man, by just being who I am and infecting people with what I had to offer, man. That's what it's all about.
Mhm.
So spread love.
Great.
And just enjoy your time because it's going to go quick.
Mhm.
Very quick.
Yes.
You
Jocelyn.
know, you're going to be 50.
Sorry about that, Anthony. Jocelyn.
I would say first things first, do not judge off the first day. Do not, because there is a lot more to come off the first day. Like Eddie said, be kind. Always be kind. One thing I knew for a fact that I was uncomfortable my first day there. I didn't want to talk to nobody, but just seeing a smile on everybody's faces, it cheered me up so quick. So have that positivity and spread it. Just like Anthony said, spread that love, spread it to everybody, you know. Be kind to your teachers because they are awesome. The greatest faculty staff I've ever seen is at Lassen College. And if you need help, ask for it. It doesn't matter of anything, food, homework. They have all kinds of resources at that school. Always ask for some help. You never know, you know. And I would say, you know, like what Eddie said, be kind, but treat others the way you want to be treated. And also always keep in mind that you are out there, but you are representing back home. You are representing your family. You are representing, you know, where you come from, you know, so make sure you represent yourself in the right way, you know, because that town is very small and everything goes on. Yeah, everybody knows everything down there, you know, so you always want to present yourself the best, you know, and just always, you know, just enjoy the people. Again, stay kind to everybody and enjoy it, really just enjoy every moment of it, because Lawson is a beautiful place and you get to meet great friends. I met my bestest friends there, so keep an eye out for your best friends in the future.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Rico.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might be muted, my friend.
Okay. Enjoy your time as you spend time there. You're probably coming from somewhere that's nothing like Susanville because they're coming from Houston and coming there was like 2 red lights there when I was there. So I had a big learning experience, and like like everyone said, it's a great place. It's small, so it's not too big for you not to be able to get help. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to get some help if you need anything, because everyone knows everyone, and most of the people that I met were great people, and they just always wanted to help. We got meals from family because we were thousands of miles from home, and we got help from whoever we asked. We and we met lifetime friends. So as you go, just enjoy it, and you might meet your best friend. So and I came with my best friend, but just enjoy it.
Super. Attila, what are your thoughts? I can hardly wait to meet you in person. So you're coming to Susanville. We now have eight stoplights. We have a Marshalls. We have some fast food. I mean, life is good. It's a big city now. When I was little, there was none of this. So anyway, but you're coming, and I was thinking about that question for you. But Jocelyn, what are you looking forward to when you get to finally step onto the campus and see what's out there, Attila?
Well, now I'm kind of looking forward for to the unity, I guess, because what they have been saying, it just sounds like a big family basically, and that's kind of what I was worried about, being a Black woman. So I'm I'm excited, and I'm excited to meet my basketball teammates and play with them, and just go on and play at the collegiate level.
Yeah, awesome. Coach Jackson, what are your words of wisdom as you were talking to your new recruits? What would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I tell them there's nothing to do here but go to school and play basketball, which is a good thing. And I tell them, you look around, there's not very many of us here. So if whatever you do, I'm gonna find out about it. And I also tell them, these people are here to help you. I mean, I haven't sent one kid to an instructor or anybody and asked for something and didn't receive it. So like these guys are saying, these people are here to help you. And like I said, I just try to keep them from getting in any type of trouble, and just let them know that these people are here to help you. They're very supportive.
Yeah, the community definitely lets you know what's happening in a matter of a minute. My sons can't do anything that I don't hear about before I see them. It's like the 911. People calling. We are almost at our time, but I have one question that came in that I think we need to talk about, if you all don't mind, for a few more minutes. Probably about 5 more minutes. It came in, and I think it's important because it goes back to something you said, Jocelyn. You said about the positives of the social media and the negative aspects that do come from it, and enough of the people post nasty things, and they're not kind to each other, and they don't treat each other, and we've kind of talked about that tonight. How we should be treating people the way that we want to be treated. But their question is this: how do we help change that process and get rid of the disgusting stuff and fill it up with the good quality things and the images that we want to see portrayed? How do we do that? Whoever would like to go first, I will open it up for you to go first. Anybody that would like to. But I think it's an important question as we wrap up tonight. Jocelyn, that's perfect. If you'd like to go ahead. Give us
I
some
thought it was
wisdom.
a great question, first off, let me just say. And whoever asked that question, great question, because I personally, there is a lot of nasty things on social media. Like I said earlier, you can find anything, literally anything. It should be PG-13, literally, at this point, really, because it just gets to that point. And I think it really comes to promotion, promoting the right things, doing the right things, speaking the right things, like all of that really just comes into play. I think in order to remove all of that, Like that'll just be really hard. Like there's no way you can just go in the next day, and tell that person or that company, like, look, you need to remove all the nasty stuff. Like, it is just not no help. That's how they get their money. So when we think of all of that, we also just have to keep in mind, like, we have to deal with it for some point, for some point in time. But I think just what I would do in order just to start everything off, I would say just remove yourself in general from that nasty stuff. Remove that away from you. I forgot who said it, but they said whatever you like, it's gonna, complement whatever you liked. So if you like that person said, they said if you like negative things, more negative things is gonna pop up on your feed. So I think in order for us to change that, I think we need to change ourselves first. Change what you look at, change what you see, and all that stuff. Don't promote that nasty stuff. Remove it, block it, and if you see maybe even somebody else or just a friend, you show that to somebody, promote that that you don't want to watch that. I think that it'll show another person, like, okay, you know what, like, she's probably right, like, I shouldn't be watching this in the first place. And I think that'll honestly, it probably won't do much, but I think it'll be a start to help with anything, really.
Great.
But
Thank
yeah.
you. Yes, Anthony.
Mhm.
Like Jocelyn was just saying, just don't give it life, man. These videos and tweets, they rely on likes and retweets and shares. You don't share it, you don't like it, you don't do what? It dies. You can't make ignorance go viral if you don't participate in it. Gossip dies if there's no one listening. Just think about that. I mean, don't share it, don't like it, just move on. That's the only advice I got.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Eddie.
There has to be an air of personal responsibility. Like Anthony said, two of the worst buttons on any social media are like and share. If you can get rid of those two buttons, you'll quell a lot of the problems, because like is the attention button. It's basically an attention getter. The more likes I get, the more disgusting or the more outrageous my behavior is going to become. And then the share, like he said, the gossip. I can't gossip if I don't have anyone to gossip with. And I don't share the ignorance if I keep sharing it in a sense that's not meant to educate. It's a lot of buffoonery. It's a lot of ungodliness on social media. It's a lot of hatred. Social, but it's a reflection of the world. Let's not turn and duck our heads in the sand and believe that this isn't our world. The world is ugly out there. Now we can do what we can try on our own with your own personal responsibility and not take part in the madness. But it's a personal responsibility of what we're dealing with. And social media is a reflection of us.
Good. Rico, I saw you had your hand up.
Yes, you have to set a standard for yourself. Like I go back to my oldest son. When he was in college, I, with the kids, that was part of the reason I got on social media, just to watch what they were doing. But at some points, I would message him privately and say, "Hey, man, you want to be a leader of men," because he knew he wanted to coach back when he was in college. So if you want to be a leader of men, this gonna stay on social media. Those young men are gonna be able to go back and say, "Well, coach, you did this. You can't tell me I can't do that." So you have to set a standard for yourself, and then that's it. That's all you can do. It's gonna be negativity everywhere. But if you set the standard high for yourself, if someone sends you something that you think is inappropriate, you tell that person, "Hey, don't send me that no more. I don't want that." And if they your real friend, they're gonna stop. And if they're not your friend, they oh well, block and delete.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, thank you guys tonight. You guys have been phenomenal. You have shared great wisdom with us. You have given us great information. And so tonight, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Alumni Association, the foundation, the new Cougar HQ. You guys really, you shared lots of great insight that really needs to be lifted up, because really it's about us having the conversations. And so thank you for participating tonight. This is probably one of my favorite events at Lassen College. It's Black History Month. I've been going since I was a little boy. And so it was a phenomenal opportunity to spend this hour and 10 minutes with you tonight. Thank you, each and every one of you. And so tonight, that will give us kind of a closure to our time together. And at this time, I want to just make sure that Nicole or Jennifer, if they have any further announcements for us tonight, before we say goodbye to one another, I will turn it back over to them. But thank you guys. Be safe, be happy, be well. And it has been a great honor to spend this time with you tonight.